The season is wrapped up. The title run has come to a close, but fun still rises to the top, where tonight, the best of the series will shine in this all-star event. Good evening and welcome to coverage of the CRL Cup Series and its all-star race from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway and the final technical event of their season number 3, right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Always happy to have you. No, this is not a points event, but this certainly will be a lot of fun. And joining the booth again on camera, myself, Kenneth Bueno, alongside Francisco Bacallao. Francisco, this is going to be a very different one. I mean, we've been accustomed to seeing points racing since we started covering CRL. We've been covering the championship, how tense the playoffs were. We had a champion decided last Friday at the Atlanta Motor Speedway with Luke Lafaro taking it all. But now we get to kind of sling things differently. We go to Bristol Dirt, where all the best in the series and some of the favorites that people have noted over the course of the season can have a little fun and go here under the lights.
Thanks for having me up here, and it's kind of exciting being here for the All-Star race under the lights at the Bristol Motor Speedway with the dirt side on the track here for tonight. And yeah, I mean, the season's over. We crowned our champion, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop racing. And we have a good group of drivers here tonight who are going to be putting out all on the line to try and win some money at the end of the night. That's all what it's about here today. No points, no anything, just straight up go for the race win and get yourself a bit of cash.
It's got to feel a little better that none of that sort of playoff pressure is on you, where you can kind of go all out, you can go full send, you can do anything you desire, of course, obviously within clean reasons, but you can go out and have as much fun as you want. And with Bristol Dirt, there is sort of a very unique history that comes here. This track, not necessarily very long, but one that is worthy of note. It all starts with the Habit Tampa Dirt Racing Series. The Dirt late models going to this very track, putting the dirt on Bristol Motor Speedway in June of 2000. And of course, the most recent event here, the return of the Dirt Coliseum. That was March 2021 with the NASCAR Cup Series and NASCAR trucks headed to this track as well. So this certainly brought up a lot to consider about this track. And Francisco, not only is that you go to such a sort of track like Bristol that has held so many great races in asphalt racing, but then you kind of slap dirt on it and it brings the predictability meter all the way down to zero.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Bristol just the way it was, and it's unpredictable, it's chaotic, and it provides great racing. And now you throw dirt on top of that racetrack and you just get a completely different animal, but it's the same beast, as Kobe Bryant once said. So it's going to be an intense night here. These guys are going to be having fun, slinging the car around, and at the same time learning, because not many people have much experience out on the dirt tracks of all sorts, really, except if you look at who's currently leading the qualifying timesheets right now, Jesse Atkinson, who actually made it through from the open, and he is here now in the actual All-Star race, and he's maybe qualifying on the pole. So that's going to be something to watch out for. But I know you and I have seen him race in the A&B Outdoor Quick Time Series, which is a dirt sprint car series, and he was definitely a good contender in those series. So he's no stranger to being successful on the dirt. So I'm going to keep my eye on him here tonight.
It's a great opportunity for a lot of the dirt drivers to end up in the right place and could have a chance to get a race win, even if it is just in the All-Star race. We'll get a better look at where we are in the virtual world. Had a bit of that history of Bristol Motor Speedway, but there's a lot more to behold of this track laid in virtual or real Bristol, Tennessee. 0.5 miles around this track. Of course, always 4 turns on a very typical oval. Turns with about 26 to 30 degrees of banking, and straights with about 6 to 10 degree of banking. Track opened all the way back in 1961. Went over that history of the dirt on Bristol, but of course, the asphalt side of Bristol holds a lot more in terms of historic nature. Everything that's gone on as of now. But as you're looking at the top left of your screen, ticker says the field is gridding, and that means they indeed are. So it'll be our time to take a look at your starting grid for the CRL Cup Series All-Star event. See exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight under the lights, slinging dirt at the last great Coliseum. Jesse Atkinson, you said it there, Francisco. He lays the fastest time of them all, 17.754 to lead us to the green flag for 50 laps. And the number 50 of Luke Peters, who qualified in. Both of these drivers actually qualified from the All-Star Open. They will occupy the first row here tonight.
Looking back at your second row, we have a couple of familiar faces. Once again, we have Bryn George in the 8 who qualified third, and Eric Heater, who came short just short of the championship, will line up in that second row.
Behind them in row number 3, you'll find the 6 of Brady Floyd in the top 5, and Luke Lafaro, seasoned champion, in a different number in the same scheme, but going to try to hold his dirt prowess here tonight, starting from the outside of row number 3.
And rounding out the field of those who set a time is Matthew Oliveira, championship contender in the 7th place, but alongside him will be the number 21 of Jacob McMillan, and rounding out the field is Casey Drake in the 87.
We'll have to know Jesse Atkinson and Luke Peters, because they started in the All-Star Open, because they qualified there, they will go to the rear of the field, but they did take the fastest time, so we should definitely keep our eyes out for both of them to know how good they could be right here on the dirt surface. We'll touch over weather just before we go green with an air temp about 78 degrees, just wind slightly to the north at about 2 miles per hour, barely any humidity, no fog. It is partly cloudy, but we are under the lights, so no need to worry about any sort of different conditions that could affect a lot of the drivers. We saw the Cup Series go here during the day, but how about we flicker on the lights and get with a cooler track temperature, see how they fare right here with the moon all the way up. So we'll have the iRacing official pace truck go down pit road. It will be Bryn George in the 8 machine you're looking at right now, and the 10 of Eric Heater, who we saw fight for the playoffs all the way to the very end. Those two, their Ford Mustang and Toyota Camry, will lead us to the green flag here. 50 laps for this all-star race, no segments in between, but we may have some cautions to sprinkle in as well. Pace truck goes off, and we are up and away. Green flags in the air from Bristol Dirt.
Gliding through turns 1 and 2. Eric Heater trying to power by on the outside, and he's able to get by the 8 of Bryn George, and they're pretty well ways ahead of the field. So as we complete the first lap of the race, Eric Heater, no stranger to running up front, as you see back here. Matthew Oliveira trying to get by the specified number 50 machine, and you can see a cluster of cars forming behind them.
And there's Jesse Atkinson, went from the rear of the field. He's working the bottom, and he's already slipping in to the top 5, trying to chase down the driver up in front that started in the rear with him, the 50 of Luke Peters, as he rode on board.
And this is the best view you can get of the Bristol Dirt. Fortunately for us, these cameras won't get dirty from the dirt that these cars are laying out here, so we'll have a clean view for most of the night here. As you see right there, the top 2 more or less staying around that same sort of gap. Eric Heater still holding a pretty steady lead in the early stages of this race. But look at that. Jesse Atkinson is wasting no time, already catching up to Luke Lafaro for the back end of that 4th position. Luke Peters just in front of them in that 3rd spot. Jesse Atkinson trying to get by and hopefully run down that top 2.
And such a different race this is, Francisco, as we come to lap number 4 to head to lap number 5 of 50, which this race shouldn't take too long if we stay green all the way to the end. But as you see there, Jesse Atkinson gets a bit from Luke Lafaro. He gets spun around. Not sure whether the caution will fly, but as of now, Atkinson will have to fare all the way back in 7th. He's up the gears, back through the bumps. He's going to lose a lot of time in the process. But as I was saying, you know, a lot of this separation with the NASCAR Cup Series cars, because you don't see these cars go to dirt pretty much at all. This is the first time NASCAR Cup competition has gone to the dirt surface since pretty much the 1950s when this series started, its early years. So you go to a track like this, and I know these guys have had a couple months, Francisco, to prepare with iRacing adding it in March, but it doesn't really tell you the full story of just how different it is to sling very heavy 3,400 pound stock cars on a dirt surface, especially on a track that isn't necessarily used to having dirt on it.
Yeah, it's definitely something strange, and these guys are probably not used to it. And you can definitely do these test sessions at tracks that have dirt on them with these Cup cars, but you never get the true feel for it unless you know for a fact that NASCAR is going to be going there. So when these guys when we all got the news that Bristol Dirt was going to be hosting a race, we all got ideas as to how that's going to work. So it definitely started probably a bit more of an uptick in people doing practices on dirt tracks, but regardless of how it came about, it's fairly difficult to get one of these NASCAR stock cars from 2021 and just take them to the dirt track and try and be successful. So you see Bryn George, actually Brady Floyd there, and Matthew Oliveira having contact on the front straightaway.
Oliveira trying to hold on to his race car, but he won't hold on to it for too long, able to keep it out of the outside wall on lap 10. That was a battle with Brady Floyd. There goes Jesse Atkinson by, maybe a free spot for Atkinson. Trying to creep back up through the field. Meanwhile, though, top 3 have spread themselves measly from the rest of the field at about 1.2 seconds, separating first place Eric Heater and third place Luke Peters, who's already on the move to charge to Bryn George. So as we see it now, a caution will wave, so our first time caution will come out here tonight, very, very early on in this event. And it will be the 57 Matthew Oliveira. We saw him struggling with his race car, got into contact with Brady Floyd. Seems as though the struggle has continued for the driver of the 57. We'll try to take a look and see exactly where this began here with Oliveira. He was riding all by himself here. There's the pass that we just saw. And as soon as he goes into the turn, seems to almost have lost control, and then...
It actually happened later on in the lap. Luke Lafaro spun on his own in the middle of the racetrack, and then he had nowhere to go and just plowed right into the back of him right here.
Oh, big hit there from the 57. Just wasn't expecting that Lafaro would be so low down the track. You'll take a look at it once more. Lafaro's running all by himself. This is in front of Brady Floyd at about the top 5. And just a simple case of losing the race car. Rear end steps out. There goes Brady Floyd, able to slip by. And then as he's rolling down the banking, here comes Matthew Oliveira. A hard send. Not enough time, though, to react. Right on board here with Oliveira. This is a very big hit.
I mean, when you're sliding sideways, you don't really get to see who's directly in front of you. And especially with that closing rate that you saw, it wasn't until he was basically right behind him that he was able to see Lafaro stop to where he was. And with the dirt, you're especially going to have a harder time avoiding incidents like that, Kenneth. So that, on asphalt, maybe it's avoidable, but definitely in our situation here with dirt and the way these cars handle and control, that was definitely unavoidable if you're the 57 of Oliveira. But fortunately, they do have at least one fast repair here handed to him tonight, so it's not the total end of his world.
Yeah, good thing that we do have the fast repair. Luke Lafaro, though, going to burn it off. Matthew Oliveira, it seems as though his hood was completely ripped off his car, but I guess it just magically put itself back on. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure he will take a fast repair nonetheless and burn it off. Get a clean race car in the first 15 laps of this race. So much differently than what you see at the World of Outlaws, or if you were a watcher of the A&B Outdoors Quick Time Sprint Car Series when we covered it here on the KBueno Racing Network earlier in 2020. Caution laps did not count in that series. They do count here in this race as they were crossing the line. They're going to cross it once more under the pace truck, but we will get the green flag very soon, which is something we do see on dirt racing. Not very common on the oval side. We get very quick yellows, very quick restarts on the dirt surface. So we'll have the pace truck come down. Eric Keeter, Bryn George again, your first row. Brady Floyd and Luke Peters to your second. We're back under green.
And something different that we're seeing here tonight already that's different from what we saw back in the Cup race in March is that we saw the Cup drivers run around the bottom of the track and try to keep their car straight. They didn't want to get the car sideways like that and run near that cushion. We saw that actually was problematic at certain parts of the race. So it's interesting that here on the iRacing service, you're able to do that, and that's actually preferred compared to sort of running with a straight looking car on the bottom of the racetrack right there where the banking sort of gives way to that apron part of the racetrack where you see Jesse Atkinson there. That's actually where the Cup guys were running for most of the March race. So it's interesting to see how the lines is so different as Bryn George sideways and around he goes in the middle of the field and makes slight contact with Jesse Atkinson's right rear, but he's able to keep going as Lafaro gets the wall.
Lafaro gets the wall. Atkinson with a bit of damage, but just a slight one-car incident without much damage. We stay green. Unfortunate there for Bryn George as Lafaro actually having more struggles with his race car. He went all down in the apron with more damage on his Toyota Camry. Safe to say he's not necessarily having the best of times here on dirt, but the driver who is clear out in front by almost a second is the 10 of Eric Heater. We've talked about him all season, Francisco. You see all the win stickers on his name rail and how dominant he was. Unfortunate end to his championship hunt last Friday at Atlanta, but even then, on an all-star race, making a statement, going for cash prizes, and still showing that he's got all the strength in his car as well.
No doubt, and he's on a mission right now. He knows he didn't get that championship a week ago, but he's going out here to try and finish the season strong. Finish with the last event going out on top and just sort of, you know, make himself feel better. I mean, and that's what everybody here wants to do, but it's definitely going to make Eric Heater feel a lot better if he's able to walk away with a win and a bit of money as well, but also go into next season with all the momentum of knowing you won the very last event. So if I'm Eric Heater, if I'm able to get this win, it's definitely a good momentum builder, despite it being an all-star race and all, but it's still good for momentum.
You may also have to look in his rearview mirror as well, because two of the fastest dirt drivers in this series, or in this race so far that we've seen out of practice and out of the All-Star Open, is Luke Peters and Jesse Atkinson. These two drivers locked in, as previously mentioned, from the All-Star Open, which took place around 6:30, about an hour and a half ago, where they completed 24 laps, and they had two stages, one in between, one at the halfway mark, so they ran 12 laps, and then the winner of that first stage ends up here, and then the second stage winner at the end of 24 laps in that second event then goes here as well. So Luke Peters was the second one to win, and Jesse Atkinson was the first, so both of them able to qualify. And Jesse Atkinson, looking at him, we talked about it before we started the show, Francisco, the fact that Jesse Atkinson, out of anyone on the official side, he has the highest I rating by more than usually 1,000 I rating, and also has an A class, 3.06 safety rating, 2,466 I rating, and that is more than pretty much everybody else in this field, and just a testament to, like we saw in the NBA Outdoors Quick Time Series, how good he can be on dirt.
Yeah, and if you slap 500 more I rating to his name, then he's basically got mile statistics. So that just goes to show how good of a driver he is on the dirt track. And I mean, if you're looking also at the screen, you're seeing him and Luke Peters have caught up to Eric Heater. So they're all starting to accordion up behind for this race lead, Kenneth. And we're just past halfway into this race, so laps are starting to tick by quickly. And just before we know it, we're going to have a battle for the win.
And, you know, most of the time we see on telemetry, at least from the ATVO standards, the fact that they tell you how much time is left in a race when they're under the green flag conditions. Yellows, of course, will postpone that time, but when you're under green, usually you're going to be seeing in CRL Cup Series competition, used to seeing maybe an hour, maybe 50 minutes, depending on the track. Here, when we started this race, it said it would take 14 minutes to go all 50 laps under green. We're already more than halfway through this event, and we may have a very spicy battle for the lead because we already have one for second, Francisco. Jesse Atkinson tried to link to the bottom of Luke Peters. No success there. He's going to try once more, and those two will fend for the second spot as they catch Eric Heater as well.
And you can see the different lines that they're running. The two leaders are running right on that cushion. You see right where that dark stuff is. They're putting their right rear right on that. And you see Jesse Atkinson trying to make that bottom work, and he's been able to make it work. He's gotten by, he's actually closed the gap, and now he's gotten by the number 50 of Luke Peters. And you saw get to the inside of Eric Heater for just a moment. As you see, look at the 50 of Luke Peters try to make that outside work. He really sailed it in there, but now we have a battle for the lead. Jesse Atkinson, who started in the back for this restart, here he is going for the lead, and he may get it off turn 4.
Atkinson to the bottom, Atkinson to the lead at lap number 31 with just shy of 20 laps to go in the CRL Cup Series All-Star race. Here's Eric Heater trying to go for the bottom. I think they realize, Francisco, that the inside is usually a lot faster. The outside's mostly used to defend. They'll both make contact. Atkinson will spin himself around. Eric Heater will retain the race lead. No caution waves, and now here comes Luke Peters to the inside.
And a slide job by the 50, but the crossover by the 10, he's going to try and get back to his inside as contact a lap ago between the top two resulted in Atkinson spinning. And you saw, Kenneth, immediately, as soon as he got past, Eric Heater went to the bottom, and he was able to hang in there, and he dove it just a little bit too hard and made contact with Atkinson. And Atkinson, despite that, is still, actually, he's in 6th place, 2 laps down, and I believe he left the race after that. Actually, yeah, that was the case. I believe he left after that incident, so it's down to 2 up front at the moment. A battle for third exists as well, with Luke Faro about halfway behind the top 2 for that 3rd spot.
And they seem to be slinging further apart, but as for the lead, it maintains contentious as they're about to lap the 8 of Bryn George, who's currently riding in 4th, as you ride from the front nose of the 10 of Eric Heater. A little bit of dirt getting slung on the camera, but no big deal as they head back through the corner. Heater's able to maintain a lot of time from Peters, so although Peters holds some speed, Heater's not really able to let him get away. And we're getting to the final 14 laps of this race where it clicks down very quickly. For Eric Heater, he needs to make this work in quick time, or else Luke Peters is going to run away with this, as he's doing so right now from the top.
And you could tell he was faster. He was cutting the lead down that entire run, so it was just going to be a matter of can he get by him and can he sort of stay clear of Heater and not give Heater the opportunity to make a dive like he did with Atkinson. And he's doing so right now, as you see Bryn George give way to your leaders to stay out of the way and not really affect this battle for the lead. And as soon as he did that, he's already opened up about a 1.5 second lead on this top on the 2nd place driver. So as he's approaching the final 10 laps of this race, Kenneth, it's going to continue to extend as long as we don't have caution.
And that last time by, Luke Peters ran about an 18.5 as Heater runs an 18.9. So Peters is well on the pace, faster than everybody else right now. I think the only one that's set a faster lap on the track has been Brady Floyd and Luke Lafaro, but there's a lot of time separating in distance between those two. I think Eric Heater might have had a small mistake, and actually a very big one. He goes straight to pit road, spinning around. That will give Brady Floyd, actually he should unlap himself. Luke Lafaro should take position this time by. What in the world happened to Eric Heater down pit road?
We're going to try and get a look, but I have a feeling he lost the car on corner entry and ended up on pit road sideways facing the wrong direction. And we're going to look here, and yeah, he just lost it on corner entry and was never able to recover right in front of Bryn George. He actually had it recovered right there, and then, oh, he hits the pit road attenuator.
It seems as though he has had enough for tonight, as well as Jesse Atkinson. Now, a Heater down pit road getting that faster pair. Luke Peters will put him a lap down, so that only leaves two drivers with 8 laps to go on the lead lap, and it may become everybody but Luke Peters, as Lafaro has suffered significant damage, and Peters well on the pace to lap the entire field, hold on for the final laps of this race, and win the CRL Cup Series All-Star event from the Bristol Motor Speedway. So already, I think the chaos has already unfolded. There was not many drivers to begin this race, but I'm probably knowing that chaos was going to reign, and I was probably assuming more yellows would come out, but we only had that one involving 2 cars. I believe race control is only really counting it for 1, but I think that's what Luke Peters exactly wants to see. He just has to hit his marks and he'll win.
Speaking of hitting his marks, you see right there off of turn 2, he did get the wall, so he's still digging, trying to make sure that he can catch up to Luke Lafaro and try to put him a lap down. That way, if a caution does come out, it would only be himself and Luke, as Luke would get the free pass position. So he wants to minimize as many cars on the lead lap as late as possible if we do get a late yellows. We saw Brady Floyd get awfully sideways there as we left shot, but I believe he's still peachy and heading in the right direction, as here we see your race leader coming up on some more lap traffic, taking 5 laps to go.
Well, he's got nobody behind him at all, so he doesn't have to worry about anybody unless a caution comes out in the final 5 laps of this race. But with the way things have strung out between most of the field, you probably won't see that happen very soon. Now, there's Luke Lafaro. There's the 50 of Luke Peters as he ride on board. A little bit of dirt on the windshield, but he can still see most or less. They don't have windshield wipers, so I don't think they'll need it anytime soon, as Peters kind of stags the wall, but he'll mostly get by. Luke Lafaro, I think he's had a moment with the wall, just trying to rip it the best he can, but he will catch very shortly. 3 laps to go from Bristol Dirt. It's going to clock down very quickly, and for now, Luke Peters, he just has to hit his marks, continue to stay clean, and the rest of the field will be more than 1 lap down. A bit of contact with Luke Lafaro on the way there.
The top 2 making contact, but not for position. This is probably not the way we expected the finish if the 2 leaders were near one another, but I think the person who's going to benefit the most out of this is obviously your race leader, Luke Peters. Think about it. He was in the championship 4 as Lafaro lets him by, and now he's lapped the entire field. But Luke Peters, Kenneth, he was in the championship race, and he didn't have the performance he was looking for, but now to end the season on dirt where he's been good at before, he is going to take the white flag and indicate 1 lap left before he wins himself some money and goes out on top in the All-Star race.
And you said it right there, championship 4 contender, not able to nab the championship, but this will bring a lot of momentum to the driver of the Best Buy Ford Mustang. And a different number, Luke Peters will come off turn 4, bit of contact with the 20 of Brady Floyd, but nonetheless, Luke Peters will grab a win in the CRL Cup Series All-Star event from the Bristol Dirt Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Luke Peters. He'll be celebrating in no time. Luke Lafaro, 1 lap down, though. He will come across the line to 2nd. Brady Floyd will end up in the top 3. Then goes Bryn George, Eric Heater, who's on pit road 10 laps down. They're the last 5 to stay on the racing surface. Luke Peters is going to have a moment, though. He'll celebrate right here in front of the virtual fans and right with some dirt. We'll see if he ends up doing any burnouts, but still great for Luke Peters to come out on top. He gets some extra cash prizes along the way, and he can end the season with a nice tail to run on in the uphill direction, a positive direction here for Luke Peters.
Yeah, and think about it, Kenneth. He had to race his way into the race. He was in the open. A championship contender was in the open, but he showed the prowess that he has all season and was able to work his way to the front in the open, and he made himself work for the positions here in the All-Star race, and ultimately it did culminate in a win and extra money at the end of the night.
Well, he will stand on the front straightaway and will celebrate his first victory, as now he will burn it down here at Bristol Dirt. But nonetheless, we'll take a moment and we will step aside. But you won't miss a thing. We'll be back with our post-race coverage and our interviews to cap off the CRL Cup Series All-Star Race. You're watching the CRL Cup Series from the Bristol Motor Speedway right here on the KBueno Racing Network.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Coverage of the CRL Cup Series on the KBueno Racing Network is brought to you by iRacing. Join thousands of sim racers across the globe and start your sim racing career today at iRacing.com. And by Supermix, concrete blocks on demand. Welcome back to the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, the dirt version of the Bristol Motor Speedway, where we have just concluded the CRL Cup Series All-Star Race. Always happy to have you, Kenneth Bueno and Francisco Bacquiao, in the booth, and it will be our time to take a moment and speak with all the drivers that have competed at the end of all of these laps. And we will start, of course, with the winner, the driver in the spotlight tonight, the number 50 in this case, but usually known as the number 16, Luke Peters, the winner after 50 laps here from Bristol Dirt. We'll bring in Luke, and Luke, I know that this race certainly turned its head mostly when things started to shake out. Drivers got into incidents at the end of the day, but for you, this was a run to the finish. You got by Eric Heater. You were in a nice battle with Heater and Jesse Atkinson, and you get to get some cash prizes, and you end up winning the last technical event of the season. Tell us how you feel about this win.
It's cool throughout the season, that's why. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's cool, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, going into this race, I know I saw the All-Star Open a little bit earlier. I know we didn't cover that, but you and Jesse Atkinson were clearly the two fastest cars on dirt. And then going into this race, you guys showed your pace, although Eric Heater led a good amount of laps, because you guys were running him down over the course of a run. Did this kind of transition to dirt for the All-Star race and make it a little more fun? Did it excite you when there was news that there was going to be the All-Star race here at dirt, knowing how good you've performed here tonight?
When the All-Star race was announced that it was going to be in Bristol Dirt, I was pretty excited because I really like this track. It's fun, and I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
So now you get this win. You got the money prize indeed, and now you get to celebrate here from Bristol Dirt. I'd say there's not much to cover in this race, considering a lot of it changed over the course of 50 laps. Wasn't necessarily too long. But before we let you go and step out from victory lane, Luke, is there anybody you'd like to thank? Any teams, sponsors, or pretty much anybody else that makes it happen for you?
Parents for letting me race, all my teammates, everyone else for racing. It was a really fun season, and you for broadcasting, and the admins for putting on the season.
We certainly thank you for joining us, Luke. Congratulations on your win from Bristol Dirt. No, it's going to feel very good, and hopefully we end up seeing you next season in CRL competition.
Thank you.
Luke Peters captures the dub and some money along the way here from Bristol Dirt, one of the fastest drivers that we saw here tonight. And we go from the first Luke to another Luke, the driver who finishes in second and the CRL Cup Series champion. Luke Lafaro in the 54, known as the 20 in this race, but nonetheless, he is standing trackside on a second place finish with Francisco Bacallao.
Well, champ, it was the All-Star race, and you came one spot short, but I'm pretty sure you'll take it considering how your night went. What are your thoughts about the performance you had here in the All-Star race?
Yeah, it was a crazy race. I mean, I don't even know how I got second. I was hitting the wall every lap. I mean, you know, this was not my best race, and to get second, I'm really lucky. I definitely did not have second place speed, but you know, we were able to get lucky and get a second there.
I think it's safe to say that you're glad this wasn't on the playoff schedule, but well, you know, we saw a great battle up there for the lead there for a good portion of the race with Luke Peters, Eric Heater, and Jesse Atkinson before Atkinson ended up spinning. But you know, in the time that Bristol Dirt has been out since it was released back in March, what are your thoughts on the racetrack itself? Like, do you feel fun driving the stock cars around this Bristol Dirt racetrack?
Personally, for me, it's okay. I mean, I think when it first launched, the setup was really good, then they changed it, and it I didn't really like how it drove, and I was just not as good in it. But you know, it's still pretty cool to drive dirt on Bristol, though.
Yeah, and there's not much to really go into in this race, considering it was a 50-lap dash for the prize, and not much happened in 50 laps. A lot happened, but you get what I mean. So the last thing I'll say, I guess, is you know, you have a team, you have teammates, and you have sponsors. So you know, now's the opportunity to thank the people who make this possible. So I'll give you the floor to do so.
All right, I would like to thank my parents for letting me race, and my teammates for helping me through the race, and yep, and everything.
We appreciate you taking the time, Luke, and thanks for bringing it home in second in order to make it a Luke 1-2. So we hope you enjoyed the season. Congratulations, champ, once again, and we look forward to seeing you next season.
Yep, thank you.
Luke Lafaro, the season champion, ends up second after all the chaos that unfolds here from Bristol Dirt. Got to say, probably some good motives there. +4 on the board since the grid starting in 6th, ends up in second. We'll cover the driver who finishes at the tail of the top 3. That will be the number 20 of Brady Floyd, ending his season now with a dirt podium, as you would call it here in the All-Star race. And Brady, knowing that this race was obviously for no points, at least it would have been for bragging rights, but no playoff points, no wins. It wasn't necessarily a race that's a stress over for a season. It's an all-star race. You had to have a lot of fun. Walk us through how you felt about this race and how it went for you at the end of the day.
Definitely we'll call it an interesting way to cap off the season. I don't do much dirt racing, so it definitely was fun to, you know, go turn some laps on it. Chaotic all around, but it is what it is. Fun way to end the season.
And you say there, I think a lot of other people can kind of hold that same thought about Bristol dirt racing at a track that's not usually known to have dirt on it, with cup cars that aren't used to being on dirt surfaces pretty much at all. So with the laps turning and the way you were kind of getting the hang of this car, how did you feel that this car was behind the wheel? Was it somewhat of a big challenge? Did you kind of get the hang of it near the end? How was that for you specifically?
Well, I think everybody realized that the bottom was pretty clearly the fastest, but I don't think many of us had the talent to run it. I think everybody felt it was a lot smoother and a lot more comfortable around the top, so I think it was just whoever could be the smoothest up there was going to be the fastest, aside from maybe Jesse, who's the one dirt guy in here. I mean, for those of us who didn't really practice much for this today, I think it was a pretty decent showing for us non-dirt guys.
Well, nonetheless, it ended up to your benefit. You finished in P3 out of all, but of course, this means a close to the CRL Cup Series, at least for this season. I know it was an all-star race, but nonetheless, still close to the season nonetheless. So who do you have to thank for making this possible on your end and for the league's end? Any teams, sponsors, or anybody else that has made it possible for you?
Yeah, I've got to say it's pretty fitting that I end up getting the last interview of the season. We definitely like to thank the other admins, Zach Thornton and Bryn George, and everybody else helping out behind the scenes. Definitely want to thank Wes Gallo in particular for helping us sponsor this series. He is at the NASCAR Geek on Twitter and at Equipment Geek on Twitter. Also, those handles on Instagram. Love to thank Atkinson Designs for coming on and sponsoring for some iRacing painters. And as well, Shadow Racing TV. Thank you to Matt Moreau for helping us sponsor this as well. No sponsors for me tonight, but we just thank you guys for broadcasting, and then thank you to everyone else there for helping us out and putting this thing on.
Well, we certainly thank you for joining us, and of course, we thank you for allowing us to cover what was a very exciting CRL Cup Series season. I think it's fitting to throw a little bit caution in the wind, make a little bit chaos of ourselves at Bristol Motor Speedway, and kind of end the season on a fun note. But for Brady, at least the third place finish, we congratulate you on your finish in the All-Star race and congratulate you on your entire season so far. And of course, we wish you the best of luck moving to next season. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for broadcasting this season.
Brady Floyd, one of the main admins of this league, CRL Cup Series, ends up with, I think he said it fittingly, the final interview, driver interview of the evening here from the CRL Cup Series All-Star race. But we will toss it back up to the booth, and Francisco, this was quick. I mean, we weren't expecting a very long race, I don't think, but it pretty much lasted. It started and ended very quickly, and it certainly brought still a lot of fun, a lot of great racing, lots of the drivers getting adjusted to this, and now we get to cap off the season. So most importantly, how is it going to be now that racing is finished for the CRL Cup Series, at least for the time being, until they kick off the next one?
Well, it won't be too long before we're racing again. I believe the season starts again on June 4th, so it's definitely going to be exciting getting back to cars unloading at Daytona, starting the grind once again right from the get-go. Luke Lafaro will enter as the defending champion, trying to go 2 in a row, and we'll be having others chasing him to try and take the crown away from him. But you know, as far as us here this season, I know I joined in the booth midway and was able to do a couple of races on the track myself. And I've had fun being up here with you, and I've had fun on the racetrack itself. And this has been a fun league to cover, and I can't wait to see what it brings us next season. So I've just had a personally good time with this series in the short time period in which you and I have covered it in.
It's certainly going to be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun already for this season, and before we go, I can't thank all the people who made this possible as we go back, our beautiful faces back on the camera. But nonetheless, it was a very fun season. We had a lot of great racing, lots of dynamic winners. We saw Eric Heater on his tail to numerous race victories. We saw that comeback story. Luke Lafaro, exciting finishes and everything but that Atlanta win. But that Atlanta win sealed everything for the championship. And then tonight, just get to have a little fun on Bristol Dirt. No, it wasn't too many people, but a big thanks to all the people who showed up, all the drivers who made it happen and gave us a fantastic show to watch in the virtual booth. Certainly thanking all of them, and I know I can see them in a couple other leagues as well, so familiar with their racing as well. But nonetheless, I gotta thank everybody as a part of the administration team. Of course, Brady Floyd, Bryn George, Zachary Thorne is a part of race control, making sure every race goes smoothly, making sure every race really happens here in the CRL Cup Series. And for all of us here at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Baier, and of course my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacchiao, throughout the final races and tonight, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long and good night from the Bristol Dirt. We'll hopefully not be slinging dirt next season, but we'll be on the asphalt. We'll see you then. Good night from Bristol.